This is Real Talk with Brendan Bartic, where we'll be talking about the latest real estate strategies, scripts, top producing techniques, and everything you're going to want to know about how to be an elite real estate agent or real estate coach, or just a great business person.
So all of this is great, but I think it really comes back to kind of this final strategy that we're going to talk about. And you mentioned it earlier about data matters. Strategy 5, tracking is everything. So walk us through that. What are some of the tools that are best implemented to keep all of this on track so that we know that we're actually making progress from one day, 1 month, 1 year to the next?
Yeah, and I love giving different solutions for different styles of people.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing that we have to know about when we're talking about tracking is, okay, can I make it very simple? And am I more digital? Am I more hands-on? Am I more visual? So when I look at this, I'll give you 3 of my favorites. The easiest one that I think anyone should do is, once you understand that this game comes down to leads nurtured in your database, and you have to determine for your database, what does that word nurture mean? What are the 10 things you do for every person you put in the database? 5 things you do. Are you more handwritten note card, personal phone call, text message? Are you more email campaign, digital market report, newsletter? I know like my wife has this like magazine that goes out to her database, you know, the American Lifestyle Registry or whatever, right? Like, what is your thing? That's what you have to figure out, but it has to be the same thing for every person you put in, because that's your standard. You go, I just USDA'd that sucker. Boom, they got the certified stamp that they're processed in my system. Boom. They got the stamp, now I get to move on to the next person. Not, I put them in there and I put a follow-up call, that's my job. That's not gonna work. You're not gonna make anybody feel special by calling them once every year. It's just not. Your mom should tell you that, right? She would know, right? That is not going to get you any kudos. So you have to know what your standard is for that process, and then you need to know how many you need to have for every closing you produce. Right, so we got back to that. So the easiest tool for me is going, okay, if I know that it takes on my team 258 conversations per every one closing, then I know I divide that over the month. If my goal is 1 closing a month, if my goal is 6 closings a month, then I'm going to figure out what my number is and get that number. And then every day I have a jar that sits in front of my desk, and a lot of our agents have this. I have a jar that says, okay, I need to have 23 conversations about buying or selling real estate a day. I've got 23 super bouncy balls in this jar. Every time I have a conversation, I take 1 ball over, put it in the other jar. All I have to do every day is empty that jar, and I'm going to make a boatload of money. That's how dumb this business is. I move 23 super bouncy balls from one jar to the next and empty that jar every single day. I will make a fortune. Caveat, if I come to role play, script practice, and don't show up at an appointment looking like a dirtbag. There are some caveats that have to go with that, right? Like, you got to wear pants, you know what I mean? Like, you got to show up wearing pants. That's just going to be one of those things, or a dress or something. You know, you have to have standards of how you show up. Okay, so that's the simple way. Then the second piece is we use, and I know a lot of the big teams that are on here use Sisu, S-I-S-U. That's a digital tracker, so it has an app. It's like a fitness app. Every day you put your numbers into it, and it calculates all your totals, so you know exactly where your formulas are and all of your information. If we can share in the chat box, the one that I made the most money with is our daily accountability sheet. I simply have a daily accountability sheet that sits on my desk that tells me how much I make for every conversation I buy or sell real estate with. So the number in the top hand right there, if you look at that, if you open it up, is how much do I make for every conversation I have about real estate? Think how powerful that number is. And you go, some of you might go, I have no idea. Well, that's why tracking is important, because if I know I'm working 20 business days out of the month, right, 5 days a week, 4 weeks out of the month, then I'm going to have 20 of these. I'm going to print 20 of them. I'm going to put them in my binder. I'm going to open up to day 1, and I'm going to make sure I know my goals, and I'm going to execute. It's my daily report card that if I did something today to earn making $1 million. I mean, when I started this, I started like everyone else. I made $0 for every conversation about real estate. Then I tracked it and I started having a sale. So then I made $10,000, and I go, okay, $10,000. I had 500 contacts. I made X. The highest that I ever was able to get to is I was making $993 for every conversation about buying or selling real estate. And that's people hanging up and telling me to go F myself, right? Real, negative ones, right? Every no was still a conversation. It was just a very short conversation. So imagine every day you wake up and you go, I get to hear this cash machine, $900 every time someone tells me to go screw off. Are you going to be motivated to wake up and do it? Are you going to embrace that suck? Because that money is going to change your charity, your church, your family, your life, your ability to not fly with the chickens, right? All of that will change once you understand that number. But if you don't track, you're shooting in the dark. You get to wake up every day. And here's what I want you to think about. This is what people do. They wake up every day and they don't track because living as an average person is comfortable. If I don't have to commit to saying that I'm going to fail to something, then I never fail at it. So I get to feel just good enough to afford to buy that Starbucks that day or go to Applebee's or whatever crap you do, right? Right? I was close, Lindsay. I was close. I almost messed it up there, right? Whatever it is that you're into, top producers that embrace the suck go, I know I have to do this. I'm going to commit to doing it. And I'm going to do it with a smile because I believe in the outcome. The hardest part about our industry, though, is it's going to be delayed. You're not going to see the results for 90 days. I talk about all the time, 6-minute abs. You have to do abs a lot for it to show up. You can't do abs today, look down and be like, dope, got abs. Doesn't work that way, right? You're going to have to do sit-ups for 90 days to even start to show a little bit of a result. The problem is that routine built in that you're going to do 50 sit-ups every day to get there.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is being uncomfortable with the failure, right? Ooh. The top producers on our team, when it comes to tracking, if they have a crappy day, they still submit their daily tracking with zeros across the board.
Yeah.
They don't hide from it. You know?
Right. You're going to get kicked in the teeth. You're going to go to that happy hour with all your homies and you're going to get a little sloppy. And the next morning you're going to wake up and the last thing you want to do is make a phone call. I can be the first to attest to this. It's not going to feel good, right? So you just got to go, okay, I know, but I have a week. I don't have just one day. I have a week. I have 20 days really to make this month successful. The performer goes, I sucked on Friday. I'm coming in on Saturday to make it up because I know this number is all I have to do. I have to get this formula right. And looking at that. And then the last thing, Anna, and please write this down, detach yourself from the outcome. I have to talk about one of my affirmations, detach myself from the outcome. People don't hate me. I don't suck. When somebody picks another agent over me on a listing or cancels a buyer contract or an inspection falls through, there's nothing that I can do as long as I truly believe I did my best. I have to detach myself from the outcome and tell myself, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. On to the next, right? I was that shy guy, like if, all my other buddies in the bar would be able to go talk to girls and they'd be like, hey, well, this. I was so afraid that someone was going to be like, yeah, you're kind of a dork, that I would just sit back and be like, yep, for a long time. And then eventually, with enough drinks, I started to detach myself from the outcome, right? Just try to keep it light, people, try to keep it fun, right? So then I didn't care. And I was like, what's up, girls? And then I'd have a good time and it would blast. And that's how I met my wife. So it all just depends on if you can get past that ability to go, I got to get uncomfortable. I got to detach myself from the outcome. And I can't worry about things that I have no control over.
Awesome. Any final words? We're a few minutes over, so we want to respect everyone's time that's here on live. No, absolutely. Any final thoughts as we kind of wrap up?
No. Well, first of all, I appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to come and understand this. And then second, there's nothing changes if you don't take action. So as I said, from some of these strategies, whether it's you don't ever take an appointment before 12 o'clock, you switch over and start taking apart morning mastery. You make the decision to be the first person at the office and you take pride in that. You're that first car that gets there every single day. You don't have to be the last one that leaves. If you do that, you're going to make a ton of money. And I'm not trying to make your life, you have to work 90 hours a week. Yeah, in the beginning, you got to work longer to make this work. You just do. You're an entrepreneur. You have to make a lot of time investment into your business. But make sure you take some action out of some of these things. If you found any of it relevant to you, put it into play tomorrow. And then don't wait. Don't go, you know what, on Monday, I'm going to start morning mastery. I guarantee you it'll never happen. You make a decision to change your everything tomorrow, right? Or today even, right? Right now, you go buy a jar, you put 22 super bouncy balls in it, and you go buy another empty jar, and you sit that on your desk and you go, my life, I promise anyone here, if you have 22 conversations about buying or selling real estate every day, 5 days a week, no one on here will not make easily $150,000 a year plus. I guarantee it. If you do it and you don't come talk to me, then it's probably the way you look or the way you sound. And I don't mean structurally, I mean like the way you're showing up to appointments, right? There's something physically that you're wrong. You have like, I don't know, face tattoos or something like that, right? Other than that, you're going to have success. It's a conversation game.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your guys' time. We do have a couple of questions, so we're going to stick around and answer those. Again, this will be made available on the Brendan Bartic Real Estate YouTube channel, as well as the Real Talk podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Brendan, let's jump into the questions.
Yeah, let's go. Fire away.
So can you just kind of list off, we talked about YouTube. You're obviously really passionate about it. You watch YouTube every morning. Give us your top 3 favorite people to follow or you subscribe to and consume a lot of their content on YouTube.
Absolutely. So number 1 is Tom Ferry. Again, as far as, and I'm a real estate coach, we have a coaching company. I will be the first to say I love Tom Ferry. I love Tom Ferry because of the guests that he has on. He has a lot of the top people from across the country, so many good ideas shared, so many things that I can really tap in and learn from. I'm pretty old school, so Tony Robbins would be number 2. Anything Tony Robbins as far as mindset, motivation, anything that I'm looking at as far as any of that stuff. And then where I'm a real junkie, I'm a TED Talk junkie. I would honestly be able to admit this, and I think I can stake a claim to it, that there's not a TED Talk that exists that I have not seen. So TED Talks, because you're getting the best speakers on earth that are going to give you, and my brain can only take 18 minutes of anything, 18 minutes of some of the best stuff on earth from people way smarter than me. So those would be my top 3.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's go back to younger Brendan in production, couple of first years. Did you walk us through, did you start early and like, did this just happen or how did you go into production? Were you at the office at 7:30 in the morning? Walk us through that.
So I always remember who you surround yourself with. So my mentor, her name was Susan Heller. She was a beast. I don't know any other way to explain it. She was a Mike Ferry coached agent. So Tom Ferry's dad, who is still in coaching today, but he was very old school. Like his whole thing was just simple. It was like, make calls, do great listing appointments, you'll make a lot of money. That was pretty much like you could save your money. That's the coaching, but you had to hear it a lot. And it was scripts and dialogues and practice and all this stuff. So she really taught me I was her assistant for a year and a half, which I think was my apprenticeship. I would take her cat to the vet, pick up her egg salad sandwiches every day. This was back when there wasn't like the Red X or ways to produce expired. So I had to pull the expireds myself and do those and deliver them to her. And she would just sit there and smoke Newport cigarettes on a cordless phone, set appointment after appointment at 7:30 every morning. She was making like $1.7 million when I first started working with her. And this is 20 years ago, $1.7 million a year. And I was just like, if she can, and also, again, a very powerful, amazing lady, very crazy lifestyle that she had. And she was, because so many things that she had going on in her world, but she was still able, she knew I watched her control this morning every day doing these same simple things. And she goes, all you have to do in this business is talk to people about buying or selling real estate, practice your scripts and dialogues, and give amazing presentations. So one of the things we didn't really get into a lot is practicing your presentations, whether that's buyer presentation or listing presentation. And you know this, I always tell everyone, you get paid to interview for a living. Mm-hmm. So study every book on how to be a good interviewee. I have every book on Audible about how to ace an interview, because that's all you get paid to do, right? Anytime I meet with a buyer, I'm interviewing to be their buyer's agent and get them to sign a buyer agency. When I meet with a seller, I'm interviewing for the job of selling their home and entrusting them to give me X amount of money. If I'm excellent at being a good interviewee and my presentation doesn't make somebody want to, fall asleep or, punch themselves in the face, I'm going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, that's great advice.
I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, no, that was awesome.
Down a spiral there.
No, that was perfect. So folks, if you guys have any final questions, feel free to hop off mute, throw them in the chat box. We'll hang out for a few more moments. But again, on behalf of Brendan Bartic Real Estate Coaching, thank you so much for joining us today. We are back next month with a new webinar. We hope you can join us. Stay tuned for that Eventbrite link, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Call me if you need anything or not, whatever.